So I think that Nusan Mazraoui is the perfect profile of fullback for United to sign at right back as Aaron Wan-Bissaka's replacement. That doesn't necessarily mean that I think he's the best option for United in terms of current and potential ability, but in terms of what that fullback needs to offer on the pitch during different phases of play, I think Mazraoui's positional versatility and varied skill set makes him the sort of tactical weapon that Ten Hag could desperately use as a fullback. But what exactly do I mean by this? Well, I'm first going to explain some tactical concepts that I think could improve Ten Hag's tactical setup with these specific fullbacks before I analyse Mazraoui in comparison to some of the other potential options. But before I come on to that, let me analyse Mazraoui alongside Wan-Bissaka, the man he is replacing. So straight to the point, the issue that I have with Wan-Bissaka, and I would argue with Malacia as well, is that both players are very positionally limited, and what I would refer to as 2000s fullbacks, very one-dimensional in their play. See, in the 2010s, fullbacks evolved from the likes of Gary Neville, Ashley Cole and Patrice Evra, the elite level fullbacks of the 2000s, who were very much defensive first fullbacks who would excel when providing overlaps and getting into crossing positions as well, but into fullbacks in the mid 2010s to late 2010s, who were a lot more two-dimensional, with players like Danny Rose, Andy Robertson, Kieran Trippier, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Cole Walker, who I would all put into this category, who under specifically Pochettino and Klopp became specialists at providing the width in the possession shape in the middle third and allowing the wide attackers ahead of them to shift in field, with these fullbacks then expected to provide the output in terms of deep crosses and crosses from the byline, which you would usually expect to see from a traditional winger. However, in the 2020s, the fullback position has evolved further. But before I explain that in more detail and come on to Wan-Bissaka and Mazraoui, if you want to pick up any new season jerseys, Euro 2024 jerseys, or any club or international retro jerseys, and go over to Jersey FIFA, you can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. See, now fullbacks can't just provide a threat on the overlap in the attack as well as their usual defensive security without the ball, essentially as a wing back in a back four. Now fullbacks, specifically at the elite level, need to be three-dimensional when their side has possession, able to operate in deeper areas in front of the opposition's midfield line, usually in a wide position in a back three, alongside providing over and underlapping runs down the channel, as well as them being able to invert in field either behind the opposition's front line press in a double pivot, or sitting in behind the opposition's midfield line in the half space. And the issue with Wan-Bissaka is that he really only excels out of possession defensively, as seen by his incredible interceptions and percentage of dribblers tackled metrics in his FB ref report. And whilst he is okay at providing overlapping runs, you can see from his expected assists and XG assisted numbers that he's average at best, and when it comes to operating in central or congested areas when trying to play through an aggressive press, Wan-Bissaka is just a liability, having nowhere near the same press resistance, vision or technical ability as the likes of Dalot or Mazraoui. And even when United have sustained possession in the middle third, Wan-Bissaka is a decent retainer of possession, but he doesn't have Dalot or Mazraoui's vision or passing ability, just not being the type of player who's going to be regularly splitting the opposition's midfield line with line breaking passes, working the ball in behind the midfield to the likes of Mount and Fernandes between the lines. Mazraoui on the other hand is capable of operating in multiple different areas of the pitch, and as you can see from the passing section of his FB ref report, Mazraoui absolutely blows Wan-Bissaka out of the water, being a significantly better retainer and progressor of possession. Now of course these numbers may be slightly skewed because he does play for Bayern Munich, but even with that mental adjustment you can clearly see that Mazraoui is very impressive in this regard, as the eye test shows as well, and the fact that he ranks in the mid 90th percentiles for his progressive passes, passes into the final third, and the percentage of his short, medium and long passes that he's completed, Mazraoui would be a clear upgrade on Wan-Bissaka in possession. Mazraoui is also a better ball carrier than Wan-Bissaka, better when inverting in field, and playing almost like a central midfielder at times, and in the final third I think Mazraoui is a bigger creative threat, as comparisons of both players' FB ref reports would attest to. Defensively Wan-Bissaka excels and specialises in 1v1s, however I don't think this ability extends to the mental aspects of his defensive game, as I often feel that positionally when he's at the back post he can be caught ball watching, and allow the opposition's wide attacker to run off of his shoulder and get into a goal scoring position at the back post, which we saw happen with Anthony Gordon taking advantage of this in Newcastle's 1-0 win last season. If Wan-Bissaka could play as a right right-sided centre-back, I think this would help his case. Although I think that he can only really play in two positions, which is as a defensive right-back in a back four, or as a right-sided centre-back, but both in quick transitional systems, and this is largely because of his lack of ball-playing ability. As from central positions, I think Wan-Bissaka would be even more vulnerable in possession, as his forward passing can be erratic, and I certainly wouldn't be confident with him receiving the ball with his back to goal under immediate pressure. And add on to this the fact that Wan-Bissaka only has 1 year left on his United contract, and I think you pretty much have to sell him this summer, and considering the price, Mazraoui probably is the best option, and a significant upgrade for a similar transfer fee and salary package. But is Mazraoui the best option on the market for United? Well, of course I don't think we can really discuss the right back that United should actually buy, and the fee that could be spent if we don't put it into context alongside what United also need to do in this transfer window. And so in a future video I am planning to discuss the business that I think United should do in the rest of this window, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when that video comes out. But in isolation, I can't help but feel Vanderson from Monaco would be a better option. Now he would be slightly more expensive, which would favour Mazraoui. He'd likely be £5 to £10 million more, but he is 3 years younger. And the 23-year-old, whilst maybe not being as complete as Mazraoui, just in terms of his consistent output, I do think he has the natural ability and the potential to be better than Mazraoui over the next 3 seasons. I would say that the Brazilian is certainly a better pressing right back compared to Mazraoui, as the defensive section of his FBref report shows a fullback who is incredibly assertive and front foot, putting in a high volume of tackles and interceptions, but also one who as of yet still needs to work on his consistency and decision making when it comes to aggressively stepping out, as improving this part of his game will increase his dribble pass success rate, which is the only real negative defensively from a statistical point of view. Mazraoui isn't as aggressive or front foot in his defending, though he certainly would suit a high pressing system, having the ability to step forward and make those interceptions, though I don't think he has the same aggression, tenacity or physicality as Vanderson, with the Brazilian being a real tank of a defender, powerful in his running and the type to relish those 1v1 duels. When it comes to progressive passing however, even once you factor in that Mazraoui plays for Bayern Munich, I think it becomes pretty clear that Mazraoui does suit a possession dominant side, a lot more than Vanderson at this point in time. Mazraoui is a lot better at retaining possession, with this being a particular weakness in Vanderson's game that he does need to improve, and you can see clearly from a statistical point of view that Mazraoui isn't just better than Vanderson, who is above average for most of his progressive passing metrics, but the Moroccan is better than the majority of fullbacks in Europe when it comes to progressing the ball forward with his passing, as he ranks in the mid 90th percentiles for his short, medium and long pass completion rates, as well as for his progressive passes and his passes into the final third. And when watching both players, this does make sense from the eye test, as I feel that Mazraoui is better when it comes to those short passing combinations down the channels, and his technical ability in congested areas also makes him well suited to inverting infield into a central position. But this is where the stylistic difference between Vanderson and Mazraoui comes into play. I think Vanderson is a fullback who is significantly better when he's able to play quick 1-2s, run off his presser and drive powerfully into the space, whereas Mazraoui is better when linking the play with short sharp passes and being better suited to a that controls possession high up the pitch, whereas Vanderson is someone who can transition the attack quickly but will do so from deeper positions inside his own half, because of course from these deeper positions there will be more space ahead when Vanderson is able to run off his presser. But when it comes to his ball carrying metrics, Vanderson doesn't really look as impressive as the eye test would suggest, and without context, statistically you'd say that Mazraoui is the better of the two, when it comes to their ability to beat players in dribbles and carry the ball into space. However, I think this is largely down to Vanderson still not being fully developed, to the point where his consistency is nailed down, whilst of course playing for an inferior side in Monaco compared to Bayern Munich, no doubt also skews these statistics slightly. I think if you want a fullback who is powerful in their running and can exploit high presses by playing around the pressing player and then driving into the space behind them, then Vanderson is your man. Whereas for a more possession dominant side, Mazraoui's greater ability to progress the ball forward through his passing between the lines is probably more preferable, and so who you prefer out of the two really does come down to what sort of fullback you want.